Let me start with something you may not have heard in a long time, perhaps never, from your doctor, your friends, or even from yourself. When was the last time you truly thought about your sexual health? And before your mind jumps to awkward places, let me reassure you, this isn't about gossip, it's not about prying into private details, and it's certainly not about trying to turn the clock back to your 20s. No, what we're going to talk about is something far more important: the role this often forgotten part of life plays in your energy, your strength, your mood, your sleep, and even your independence as you get older. Think about the conversations we often have once we reach our 60s, 70s, or beyond. We'll compare cholesterol numbers, blood pressure readings, how many steps we managed to walk this week, or which joint is feeling stiff today. These topics are easy to share, but bring up intimacy, especially self-intimacy, and suddenly the air changes. There's a long pause, a smile, maybe a quick change of subject. Somewhere along the way, society decided that this chapter of life has an expiration date. But here's the surprising truth. Your body never got that memo. It is still designed to respond to certain kinds of touch and stimulation, not simply for romance, but for genuine, measurable health benefits. And here's what's interesting. When intimacy fades, it rarely happens overnight. More often, it slips away quietly. Sometimes it's after a partner passes away. Sometimes after a medical procedure. Sometimes life just gets busy with family, work, or caregiving, and that part of life drops lower and lower on the list of priorities. At first, you might not notice any difference, but over time, subtle changes creep in. Walking up the stairs starts to feel a bit harder, sleep becomes lighter and less refreshing, motivation to get out and do things declines, and muscles take longer to bounce back after activity. It's easy to shrug and think, well, that's just what happens with age. But the truth is, some of those changes may not be about age alone. They may be the quiet ripple effect of losing a regular signal your body once relied on. I'll never forget meeting Harold, an 82-year-old retired builder. This was a man whose life had been defined by movement, by physical strength, by the satisfaction of building something from nothing. 2 years after his wife passed away, he found himself unable to open a simple jar of peanut butter. His hands, once strong enough to lift beams, now struggled with the smallest tasks. When we spoke, he admitted that intimacy, in any form, had simply disappeared from his life. Not because of shame or choice, but because it just wasn't part of my day anymore. And yet, his body had noticed. The decline in muscle, energy, and motivation was more than just the passage of time. It was the absence of a kind of natural stimulation that once kept his systems running in balance. Here's why this matters. Sexual activity, whether shared or solo, is more than a moment of pleasure. It's a kind of biological exercise. It signals your body to release testosterone and growth hormone to protect muscle mass. It boosts oxytocin to calm your nervous system and reduce stress. It triggers dopamine and serotonin to lift your mood and improve sleep. It stimulates nitric oxide to keep your heart and blood vessels healthy. Without these signals, your body gradually shifts into energy-saving mode, building less, repairing less, and conserving more. That means slower recovery, weaker muscles, and a mind that feels less sharp. So why don't more people talk about it? Partly because the topic has been wrapped in silence for generations. Doctors often won't bring it up unless you do. Friends avoid it, families never mention it. And that cultural silence means countless older adults are missing out on one of the simplest, most natural ways to protect their health. A way that costs nothing, requires no prescription, and can be done privately. Now, imagine two people, both 75 years old. One has completely closed the door on intimacy. Over the years, they lose muscle faster, balance becomes less steady, and their world shrinks as they turn down invitations and adventures because they just don't feel up to it. The other keeps a quiet, regular connection with their own body. They're not chasing romance or nostalgia, they're simply maintaining a personal health habit. Their muscles stay stronger, their mood is lighter, they sleep more deeply, and they keep saying yes to life. Same age, but very different futures. Let's also clear up a common misunderstanding. This is not about trying to recapture youthful passion or prove anything to anyone. It's about treating your body with the same care you give to your diet, your exercise, or your medical checkups. Think of your body like a garden. Whether it was planted decades ago or just last spring, it still needs water and sunlight to thrive. Ignore it and it fades. Nurture it and it continues to grow. Of course, the hardest barrier isn't physical, it's mental. Many of us have been conditioned to believe that intimacy is for the young, that it's somehow undignified past a certain age. But your heart doesn't care about those old rules. Your muscles don't care. Your hormones don't care. They respond to what you do, not to outdated ideas about what you should stop doing. So, if any of this sounds familiar, if you've been feeling more tired, if your sleep is lighter, if your motivation isn't what it used to be, it might be time to consider whether you've quietly let go of a habit your body still needs. The best part? It's never too late to start again. Your body can adapt and improve at 60, 70, 80, and beyond if you give it the right signals. And that's exactly where we're headed next. In the rest of this video, we'll explore how this often overlooked habit affects your strength, your heart, your mood, your mind, and even your independence as you get older. So stay with me, because by the end, you may see this not as a taboo topic, but as one of the most powerful, overlooked tools you have to stay strong, sharp, and fully alive, no matter your age.
Now that we've opened the door to this conversation, it's worth asking ourselves, why does this matter so much? Why should we keep talking about it instead of letting it slip quietly into the background like so many other parts of life? The answer is simple, because this isn't just about comfort or confidence. It's about the way you feel, the way you move, and the way you live in the years ahead. When we're younger, our bodies can recover from lapses in healthy habits. Skip a few workouts, eat too much sugar, lose some sleep, and after a few days, we're back on track. But as the decades pass, that recovery window shrinks. What we neglect today shows up sooner and stays longer. And when we talk about intimacy, it's not just about closeness with someone else. It's about a powerful signal your body once received regularly, a signal that told your muscles, heart, and brain to keep building, repairing, and staying sharp. Without it, things begin to change in ways that are slow, silent, and easy to mistake for just getting older. Inside the body, a quiet chain reaction begins. Hormones like testosterone, growth hormone, dopamine, serotonin, and oxytocin all start to drop. Muscle becomes harder to maintain, mood starts to flatten, and sleep loses the deep healing quality it once had. Without that rest, stress hormones climb, wearing down your immune system and leaving you with less resilience for everyday life. And before you know it, small things like carrying groceries, getting up from a chair, or walking briskly start to feel like bigger challenges. The truth is, after 60, every advantage counts twice as much. Your body can still do incredible things, but it needs consistent reminders to keep everything running smoothly. Remove one of its most natural reminders, and the decline speeds up. It's like an old clock that's been ticking faithfully for years. Stop winding it, and it won't stop right away, but it will slow, and eventually, it will stop altogether. I think about a conversation I had with a woman in her early 70s. I'll call her Margaret. She loved gardening, meeting friends, and staying active, but she admitted that over the last few years, she'd been feeling off. More aches, more fatigue, and far too many sleepless nights. She hadn't been physically intimate, even with herself, in almost 10 years. She hadn't made a decision to stop, it just never crossed her mind as important. When she began to gently reintroduce it, she was surprised to notice her sleep improving, her mood lifting, and her energy returning. Her body had been waiting for that nudge all along. That's the real cost of doing nothing. Ignoring this part of your health doesn't just mean missing out on a moment of pleasure. It increases the risk of faster muscle loss, weaker bones, poorer circulation, higher stress, and a deeper sense of isolation. And these aren't small inconveniences. They can determine whether you stay active, travel freely, play with your grandchildren, or even maintain your independence. Some people dismiss this whole topic, thinking it's about vanity or clinging to youth. But in reality, it's maintenance, the same as stretching, eating well, or keeping your heart strong. If you owned a classic car, you wouldn't let it sit in the garage untouched for years. You'd start the engine, run it regularly, and keep the parts moving. Your body deserves the same care. Picture yourself 5 years from now. In one version, this part of your life has been closed off completely. You're more cautious, less steady on your feet, and perhaps saying no to opportunities you might have once enjoyed. In the other version, you've kept a quiet, private connection with yourself. You're moving confidently, recovering faster, feeling grounded in your emotions, and saying yes more often. Same person, same age. The difference lies in the signals you chose to give your body along the way. This conversation is urgent because the changes are gradual, and that's what makes them dangerous. By the time you feel the difference, the decline may already have a head start. Acting sooner means keeping more of your strength, clarity, and vitality intact. The beauty of it is that you don't need drastic measures or expensive treatments. You already have the tool you need. I understand, the mental hurdle is real. Years of social conditioning have told us that intimacy belongs to the young, and that letting it go is natural. But the truth is, your heart, your muscles, and your mind don't care about those old rules. They only respond to what you give them. And once you push past the mental block, this habit stops feeling awkward and starts feeling like what it truly is, a form of self-care. So the stakes are clear. This is about more than intimacy. It's about preserving your independence, protecting your body, and keeping your mind and mood strong. Ignore it, and you risk speeding up the decline. Embrace it, and you give yourself another advantage in aging well. In the next part of this journey, we'll shift from understanding why it matters to discovering exactly how to make it part of your life again in a way that feels comfortable, private, and entirely your own. We'll talk about small steps, easy habits, and ways to ease past the awkwardness so you can start enjoying the benefits almost immediately. And if you stay with me, you might find that what you thought was gone forever has been quietly waiting for you to invite it back.
It's at this point in our journey that I want you to pause for just a moment and imagine something. Think back to the last time you felt truly light in your body, not just free from pain, but full of that quiet, steady energy that made you want to say yes to life without hesitation. Maybe it was a morning when you woke up already smiling, or an afternoon when you climbed the steps without even thinking about it. Hold on to that memory, because what we're about to talk about is one of the ways you can bring more of those days back. You see, after understanding the stakes, knowing what's truly at risk when this part of your life fades away, the next natural question is, so what can I do about it? And more importantly, is it really possible to get back something I thought was gone? That's where things get interesting, because the answer is not only yes, but it's yes in a way that is private, gentle, and completely within your control. Now, before we move forward, let's be honest. For many people, even acknowledging this topic feels like stepping into unfamiliar territory. Years of silence and cultural conditioning can make it feel off limits. And yet, deep down, there's a part of you that knows this isn't about impropriety, it's about care. It's about doing for your body what you already do for your heart, your mind, and your bones. Think about all the other health habits we accept without question. We drink water every day because we know our body needs it, not because we're thirsty in that moment. We stretch or walk to keep joints flexible, even if we don't feel stiff yet. We take vitamins not because we're ill, but because we want to stay well. This, and yes, I mean intimacy in the broadest, most self-directed sense, works the same way. It's proactive care. One of the most powerful realizations people have when they begin to reintroduce this habit is that it's not about chasing some grand movie scene moment. It's about sending small, consistent messages to your body that say, keep building, keep repairing, keep me strong. Over time, those messages accumulate into measurable changes: better muscle tone, steadier mood, deeper sleep, even a clearer mind. I remember talking with a man named Robert, who in his late 70s had begun to feel like life was slipping past him. His days had grown repetitive, his energy was low, he felt disconnected, not only from others but from himself. After a gentle conversation about the potential benefits, he decided to try reawakening this part of his life, purely as an experiment. A few months later, his voice carried a different tone, lighter, steadier. He said, "It's like someone opened the windows and let the fresh air back in." And that's exactly what this can feel like, opening the windows. Because while the physical benefits are important, the emotional ones are just as profound. You may notice a renewed interest in daily activities, a stronger willingness to connect with people, and even a better relationship with your own reflection in the mirror. But let's be realistic. Starting again isn't always easy. The mind can be full of doubts. Is this silly? Is it too late? What will people think? Here's the beauty. You don't have to tell anyone. You don't have to announce it. This is the kind of health habit that belongs entirely to you, done entirely on your own terms, in your own space, at your own pace. The rehook here, the reason to lean in and keep listening, is that what you're about to learn isn't just theory. It's something you can start applying almost immediately, with no cost, no prescription, and no complicated plan. And the benefits don't take years to show up. In many cases, people begin noticing small but meaningful changes in just a few weeks, feeling lighter when they stand up, sleeping through the night more often, waking with a bit more eagerness to face the day. And here's another point worth noting. There's no perfect way to do this. You're not being graded. This isn't a competition. The goal is consistency, not performance. A few minutes of intentional, caring connection with yourself can be enough to trigger the body's natural cascade of beneficial responses. Over time, those minutes become a quiet, powerful form of self-maintenance. If you've listened this far, it's probably because a part of you recognizes yourself in these stories. Maybe you've been feeling the slow fade of strength or spark. Maybe you've wondered why your energy isn't quite what it used to be, even though you're eating well and staying active. What you're beginning to realize is that this missing piece, the one we rarely talk about, could be the bridge between where you are now and where you'd like to be. So let's not leave that bridge unused. In the next section, we're going to walk right onto it. We'll talk about exactly how to ease back into this habit, how to keep it comfortable and natural, and how to make it a seamless part of your health routine without stress, without awkwardness, and without anyone else needing to know. As we step forward, I want you to keep one image in your mind, a version of yourself, not 10 years younger, but more vibrant, more steady, more awake to each day. That version is still within reach, and by the time we move into the next stage, you'll see just how possible it is to get there.
And now we've reached the part where things start to click into place. The point in our journey where all the threads we've been pulling together form a clear picture. Up until now, we've been building awareness, breaking down the silence, and showing you that this isn't just about one private habit. It's about an entire web of cause and effect inside your body. But here, in this moment, is where we start to see why changing course now can lead to changes you can actually feel, see, and measure. Picture your body as a house you've lived in for decades. You know its creaks, its corners, its warm spots. Over the years, you've done your best to maintain it, replaced the roof, fixed the wiring, kept the garden tidy. But there's one room you've kept closed for a long time. Maybe you shut the door because it reminded you of a loss. Maybe you thought you didn't need it anymore. And over time, without fresh air, without light, that room has grown dusty and still. The rest of the house may still stand strong, but that one room affects the whole structure. Opening it up again changes everything: the air, the feel, even how you move through the space. That's what happens when you reintroduce healthy sexual activity, even if it's simply with yourself, into your life after years of absence. This isn't about frequency or performance. It's about reawakening a pathway your body has always known. And when you open that door, the first things you notice aren't fireworks. They're small, quiet improvements. You wake up one morning and realize you slept through the night without tossing. You notice that your knees ache less when you get up from a chair. You catch yourself humming while making tea. The science is fascinating, but what's even more powerful are the lived experiences. A gentleman I spoke with recently, in his early 80s, described it perfectly. It's like turning the lights back on in a part of the house I forgot I owned. He wasn't talking about romance. He was talking about muscle tone returning, about feeling less stiff in the morning, about actually wanting to get outside and take a walk. And here's why that happens. When you engage in sexual stimulation, your body responds with a symphony of chemical releases: testosterone and growth hormone to rebuild muscle, nitric oxide to relax and strengthen blood vessels, dopamine to fuel motivation, serotonin to stabilize mood, and oxytocin to calm the nervous system. These aren't just feel-good effects. They're physical tools your body uses to repair, maintain, and energize itself. Remove the trigger, and these tools sit idle. Reactivate it, and they start working for you again. I know for some of you, the idea still feels strange. Maybe you've been without this part of your life for so long that the thought of starting again feels foreign. But here's the truth. You don't need to leap into it all at once. Like any other health habit, you can ease into it gently, letting your body remember at its own pace. Even a small, intentional step sends the signal. Over time, that signal grows stronger, and so do the benefits. Think of it like watering a plant that's been neglected. The first day, you don't see much change, but give it time. The leaves perk up, the color deepens, new growth appears. That's your body. It knows how to respond, no matter your age, if you give it what it needs. One of the most motivating parts of this journey is realizing that it's never too late. I've seen people in their late 70s and 80s make these changes and enjoy more energy, better balance, and greater confidence. Not because they were chasing youth, but because they wanted to feel at home in their bodies again. And the benefits spill over into other parts of life. When your body feels stronger and more responsive, you move more. When you move more, your heart gets healthier. When your heart works better, your brain gets more oxygen. And when your brain is sharper, you stay more engaged with the world around you. This is what I mean when I say that one private change can create a chain reaction that touches every part of your life. I also want to be clear. This isn't about replacing other healthy habits. It's about adding one more tool to your kit. Keep walking, keep eating well, keep laughing with friends. But don't underestimate the power of this small, personal ritual to amplify all of those other efforts. So here we are, at the turning point. You've heard the reasons, you've seen the risks, and now you understand the rewards. The only thing left is to decide whether you're willing to take that first step. It's a decision no one else has to know about, one that belongs entirely to you. As we move into the final stage of this conversation, I want you to picture yourself months from now. Maybe you're waking up with more energy. Maybe you're taking longer walks without stopping to catch your breath. Maybe your friends are noticing that you seem lighter, brighter, more present. And you'll know, quietly, that part of that came from giving your body back something it's been missing. That's the heart of this climax, the realization that you hold the key. No prescription, no permission needed. Just you making the choice to open that long-closed room and let the light in again. And in the resolution, we'll talk about how to keep that door open, how to make this a natural part of your routine without pressure or stress, so you can keep feeling the benefits for years to come. Stay with me, because what's coming next is about turning this possibility into your everyday reality. And so, here we are, standing at the edge of possibility, with the door open, the light pouring in, and the question hanging in the air: what now? Because the truth is, knowing something is good for you is one thing. Turning it into a living, breathing habit is another. That's where the real change happens, in the everyday choices that brick by brick build a new normal. The first thing I want you to remember is this: you don't have to overhaul your life overnight. Think of this journey like planting a small tree. You wouldn't expect it to grow into full shade in a week, but you'd water it, give it sunlight, and protect it from the wind. The same applies here. Start where you are, with what feels manageable, and build from there. For some of you, that might mean setting aside a quiet moment once a week. For others, it could be experimenting with gentle exercises or stretches that reminds your body how to respond. The key is consistency, not intensity. It's far better to take small, steady steps than to sprint and burn out. And while you're at it, pay attention to the other pillars of your well-being. Eat food that nourishes you, not just fills you. Move your body in ways you enjoy: a morning walk, dancing in the kitchen, even gentle gardening. Keep your mind curious. Read, play games, learn something new. These aren't separate from what we've been talking about. They're threads in the same tapestry. Another thing I've noticed, both in my own life and in the stories people share, is that change sticks best when it's tied to joy rather than guilt. So instead of thinking, I have to do this because something's wrong with me, try reframing it as, I get to do this because it makes me feel more alive. That shift in perspective is subtle but powerful. It turns a chore into a gift. Of course, there will be days when you don't feel like it. Days when your energy dips, when the weather is gray, when old doubts resurface. That's normal. In those moments, instead of asking, do I feel like doing this? Try asking, will I be glad I did? More often than not, the answer will be yes. And here's the part I find most beautiful: the ripple effect. You may start this journey for purely personal reasons, but the benefits don't stop with you. Your mood improves, and suddenly conversations with friends feel lighter. Your energy rises, and you're more likely to join a family outing. Your body feels stronger, and you take on activities you'd quietly avoided for years. Without even meaning to, you become an example not of perfection, but of possibility. One woman I met told me that after she began focusing on her intimate wellness, her granddaughter commented, "Grandma, you're laughing more these days." That one sentence meant more to her than any number on a medical chart. Because at the end of the day, this is what it's all about. Not just adding years to your life, but adding life to your years. So as we close, I want you to imagine a future version of yourself looking back at today. Picture them thanking you for the small steps you chose, the moments you reclaimed, the courage you showed in opening that closed room and letting the light in. That version of you exists, and every choice you make from here is a step toward meeting them. Now the question isn't, can I do this? You already know you can. The real question is, when will you begin? And the best answer I can give you, the one I've seen work over and over, is start now. Not next month, not after things settle down, now. Because your future self is waiting, and they will be so glad you didn't make them wait too long.